Oh, guys, it is a sad, sad day. When you gotta do the season's last podcast. I finally just got out of the hospital. Oh, man. I know this song means a lot to one person in particular. And he is on the phone with me right now, still celebrating his win as the brand new champion. Shane, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. What's up?
Not much, man. What'd you think of my song selection, sir?
I'm going to be honest with you over the phone. I can't hardly hear it. What song was it?
Oh, dadgummit. Oh, man. You still can't hear it?
I couldn't hear it now.
Oh, man, it's Dave Matthews Band Trippin' Billies.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I think I cut it off right before it actually got to the line of Trippin' Billies. So I will be playing that for your outro as well as your intro. Sir, I am extending a handshake to you. Very good. Good job, man. Good win. Congratulations, sir. Not the way I wanted it to go down, but when your only player that showed up to play is Christian Yelich, well, at that point, I'm just living on a prayer.
That was rough. I kind of, I was hoping, and I was saying it all season, that not all season, because Matt Carpenter didn't warm up till probably the midway point, but I kind of had a feeling that Matt Carpenter was going to cool off. And Jose Ramirez, I've said this before and I'll say it again, he far, far exceeded my expectations on the season. I can remember at one point, I think when we were in the Keys, you were trying to deal Jose off pretty regularly there. He was in a lot of trade talks, and, I'm not sure that you thought he was going to do what he did all season.
No, not at all. And, his true colors shown, and honestly, I think they're still showing. I was hoping that my bet was gonna bring me some joy of seeing 40 home runs get hit, just because at that point, man, I was in desperation mode. I needed anything that I could get from the baseball gods. I didn't get a home run from Acuna, Matt Carpenter, Jose Ramirez, Paul Goldschmidt. The only person that hit a home run was Jose. And other than that, man, if it was not for Christian Yelich, that would have been the ass beating of the century.
And Christian Yelich, he put up some big, stupid numbers last week.
Yeah. And, rightfully so, man. The dude has been, since the All-Star break, he has been, in my opinion, the number one baseball player, moving forward from that. And I think wasn't he like a last minute vote, or was that Hader? I can't remember. One of the Brewers barely got in to the All-Star selection.
I think that was Hader.
Yeah, that might be right.
Yeah, I think that was Hader. Yelich was, when I had him, I drafted him and had him for a long time. He was consistent. He was definitely not hurting me. And when I made that trade with Eric, I really wanted to see Pham go his way and not, I wanted to do Verlander. I think it was Verlander and Pham. I really didn't want to do Verlander and Yelich, but for Trout. But he wound up sticking tight to Yelich instead of Pham. So I wound up letting Yelich go, and it almost bit me in the ass because he wound up in your team in the championship. So that could have turned around and bit me right square in my rear end.
Yeah. Say hi, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
Butthole.
Hey, Ray.
And in all honesty, the trade really, in my opinion, it went toward my favor in the end. Mike Trout shortly after got injured. And then he had that horrible death in his family, and he just wasn't the same player. I mean, yeah, he still threw up some home runs. I mean, come on, he's Mike Trout. But, bottom line, man, again, if it was not for Christian Yelich, I would not have been in this. And then, when you look at pitching stats, man, going down the stretch, man, it's so difficult to try to map out your roster when you get into these playoffs when you have pitchers that are on contending teams. And I was the one that really I suffered for it because they pulled Charlie Morton, I guess, early in that game, save him for the postseason. They switched around Buehler on the last day. I was really hoping for his pitching stats to come into play on that Sunday. Didn't happen. And I think the only one that I only have one win, and it was Freeland. And
I think they wound up saving Buehler for that start against the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
They wound up holding him off, and he started against the Dodgers in that Monday or Tuesday game.
Well, he plays for the Dodgers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, they saved him for the Rockies.
Yeah.
Did they have to go play the Rockies there on Monday or Tuesday?
I think it was that. Yeah. Something like that.
I think they pushed him off because they wanted him to start that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, come on, Save Holds turned into a joke.
Yeah.
I think you tied me, did you not? And
yeah,
Save Holds
I did.
I wind up taking him.
Yeah, no, we tied.
Relief pitcher.
Yeah, and see, that's what I mean, man. It's like you've got three relief pitchers that are those teams' relief pitchers, and I rode Kenta Maeda all the way to the end, man. And I mean, he came in and got three of them and matched your three. And I think so you had Carlos Martinez get you one. And
I had four.
Yeah.
Because Carlos Martinez was in the bullpen, so
right.
I could play him, every day in an SPRP slot.
Yeah.
But then Brad Hand did hardly pitch at all that week. Ottavino, I think, got me one or two.
Right.
And then my other RP might have gotten me one, but Brad Hand pretty much wasn't pitching there in that last week hardly at all.
Yeah, no.
Relief pitching just kind of fell apart there towards the end. But you had me nervous because I had 5 starts on Friday or Saturday, and I couldn't play them all.
Right.
So I wound up losing the start that way. But watching your pitching stats, if they hadn't have cut those starts short, because Shoemaker, I think, was cut short. Buehler got pushed off. Morton was cut short.
Yeah.
And you had one more that wound up getting cut short, too.
Yeah, that whole day. Yeah. Yeah, and
2 or 3, 4 innings, and they were out.
Yeah. And, Nolan Arenado. What's that?
I said, I'm okay with it.
Well, hey, all right. So, again, not to, I guess, beat a dead horse, but bottom line was, we've had a mission the last couple of years, a silent mutiny, I guess, against Walker. And clearly, I mean, we accomplished that before the playoffs. So, made our job a lot easier. And after that, it was just, it was just us going out there and competing and trying to get one. So, Walker, next year you can come back and you can play in the playoffs. Because there is an element that is missing when when Walker's not in there. But bottom line is, he just didn't need to be in there this year. We didn't need to have him. So
did you miss it? I didn't miss him at all in the playoffs. he needed a little time out.
Right. Exactly. So and you know what? And Reader stuck it to him one final time and said, "You're not taking 7th. You're sitting down there and you're gonna hang out underneath these nuts at 8th." So
yeah, and I think Walker's probably going to say that it was Mike's strategy that cost him this year.
Yeah.
He's going to come back next year, though. He's going to have a new team name.
Yeah.
And things are going to be different for him. I'm sure he'll be right back there in the mix.
Yeah.
He won't stay out of there too long.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right. So the final score 8-1. You had my number all season, man. I think that was the score. No, it was 9-1 was the first time we played, and the second time was a little bit closer. But this one was
9-1, 5-4, and then 8-1.
Yeah. So this one was a no doubter. Even though the score suggests 8-1, I was only down by 1 RBI, but that wouldn't have made a difference. My bats just weren't there. I had even thought about at one point when I seen Kike Hernandez hit a home run. Actually, the dude threw up some stats, man. I should have played him all week. I mean, his last couple of games, he was 3 for 4, 3 for 4, 3 for 5. Every time he was up there, he's got 2 runs. He had 2 RBIs and another RBI, and it was like I should have been playing him the whole time over Goldie. But you just, when you're sitting there, you're like, man, I can't bench Goldie. It's who he is.
It's hard to bench Goldie in a championship. And I on Sunday, just trying to get all the stats, maybe pile up some stats if I could. I actually benched Joey Votto and played Ian Desmond at first base.
Yeah.
Because Votto is just, he hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you looked at his stat line for the last, whatever they show on there, the last 6, 7, 8 games, it was zeros.
Yeah, he was garbage.
He was 1 for 3. He was 2 for 4. He was 0 for 4.
Yeah.
But no counting stats, no runs, nothing. Stanton actually, I think, if I look back, and I'm not looking back right now, but I think Stanton actually wound up being my biggest producer.
Yes, you are correct. He had 7 runs, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, and then right next to him would have been Nolan Arenado. And then you could probably argue and say that Pham was actually more productive because he gave you the 2 stolen bases. So, and Pham gave you 8 runs. So, I mean, you could probably argue that Pham was a little bit more productive.
Pham was pretty steady. I'm not gonna for being injured when he was and getting traded and going to another team and all late in the season. He was a steady producer pretty much all year. I mean, he got his stolen bases that I needed. Sometimes I needed them. The last week I really wasn't. Your stolen base numbers were a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wasn't even entertaining the fact that I could get stolen bases.
Yeah. Well, I told you I was going to at least take 1. You weren't getting that one.
Yeah, you got that one. So you wound up getting stolen bases, and what does he tie in?
Save holds. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Man, when you like I said, man, you look at your roster and you had it for a long time. I mean, when you've got, despite what Bryce Harper didn't do or doesn't do, bottom line is he was ranked 7th in the league. The dude has, he batted or had an on-base percentage of .429 last week. He had 5 runs, got a stolen base. But when you look at your lineup in just a fantasy point of view, from top to bottom, you've got me beat. I mean, Austin Hedges is not, a big contender. What is it, Gary Sanchez? He's he's going to come in next year as long as he's healthy. Probably one of the best catchers because Buster Posey was just out of the mix. And then you've got regardless of what Joey Votto did or didn't do, you drop down the line. Okay, we might say Goldie was better than Votto this season, which obviously he was, but Jose Altuve and Ramirez, and then when you get to third base, it's like Matt Carpenter. Okay, we all agree that Matt just had a good year. It wasn't like he was is that good of a player. He just had a good year. And Nolan Arenado is a consistent third baseman. He's top third baseman every year. And Turner.
Carpenter had, people in St. Louis were really concerned about Carpenter in the first half. Obviously we watch probably 80% of the games. They were really concerned about Carpenter in the beginning of the season.
Right.
And then just when the management changed over, he kind of woke up and found his swing. And man, he, as we all know, because you wiped some people out getting into the playoffs with him because he hit a lot of home runs. He was for high average. I mean, he just turned it around. I just got lucky in that last week. Cardinals unfortunately fell apart. I mean, as a fan of the team, it kind of sucked, but their defense was terrible. They couldn't hit anything, and they freaking knocked themselves right on out of the playoffs. That last series with the Brewers, going into that series, they needed some wins, and they couldn't get any wins. It was just ugly.
What was the reason they traded Pham? I don't think what did they get in return?
They, to be honest with you, from the Rays, I'm not even sure who the heck they got over there. There's a lot of stuff. Nobody's come out and said directly from management or ownership what Mizalok or whatever his name is. None of them have said why they traded him. Pham has a big head, and he plays with a big chip on his shoulder, and I think sometimes that might lend itself to not necessarily being a team player.
Right.
He has that I'm me, and I need to show out. I need to do what I got to do to make me better, and that's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I think that if you look at the Cardinal dugout during games, you kind of see those guys are all joking and playing and making faces at each other, and they're just a big group of clowns that play baseball together.
Right.
And I'm not sure that you fit into that mix. And I don't know if it's just it wasn't performance. I think it was probably more personality than performance.
Right.
But
Well,
nobody's confirmed that officially. That's just an opinion.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. I mean, there's always been I look back in my own, team that I follow is we went out there and got the Upton brothers that one season and had them both on there, and so many people were talking about how good it was going to be that BJ and Justin were on the same team, and BJ was never the same after he left Tampa Bay when he came to Atlanta, and it really was. A lot of people chalked it up to probably the fact that he was playing with his brother, and Justin was arguably the better hitter, and it probably just got to him mentally, So it does play a role, I believe. You want to be on a team that you feel like you belong in. But bottom line was, like I was saying, man, when you could argue apples to oranges right there in those top four, but when you got to the outfielders, you had me beat in every aspect of the game. Acuna is going to be a good player. He was good for the moment, but bottom line is when you look at Pham, Harper, Stanton, Springer, you've got me beat. All I had really was Yelich, and honestly, you wouldn't have known that going in. You wouldn't have said, Yelich is a top-tier outfielder, and just, if you go back all the way to the draft, you're like, okay, I would take Stanton, Springer, Harper over Yelich any day of the week. Next season, that probably won't be the case, but,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting with him. I mean, he obviously had a career year.
Right.
It's gonna be interesting to see if he can repeat that kind of performance again, because he's always been steady. When I had him, he bounced from probably mid-40s to mid-50s. He always stayed in there.
Right.
And then when I traded to Eric, I don't think Eric kept him longer than a minute before he traded him to you. And then he went crazy. And it was just, it was good to see, because I think he's a good baseball player. I think he's got a good attitude. And I like the way he plays the game. So I like the guy.
Yeah.
I hate to see the guy go, to be honest with you. But just to revisit the Cards thing with Pham, too, you got Harrison Bader coming up, and he's a lot of the same player as Pham.
Yeah.
Probably the same amount of power. I think he's probably got better speed, and he's young and he's cheap right now for the Cardinals. He's a farm system guy. They bring him up. They're paying him probably league minimum to play baseball right now, and Pham, I think, was coming up for a contract. So
right.
What do? Take a 30-something-year-old guy, when you've got a rookie that's playing for peanuts that possesses a lot of the same skills. It's kind of like maybe we cut bait and, don't give this guy another contract. So... But Harrison Bader's going to be a little stud, I think. Keep your eyes out for that boy, because he had a really good season quietly this year.
I just want to point out that he is a former University of Florida baseball player, so you're welcome.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Bader the Gator.
Yep, absolutely. Something good had to come out of Florida.
And on that note, we'll catch up with Shane next season. Oh, man, speaking of that, that's actually a good way to enter into it, man. All right, you talked about next season, man. You've got a title to defend next season. Are you going to falter off like we had our last champion, or are you going to defend it to your fullest extent?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
I had concerns, like I told you on the last podcast, with my draft this year. I was really, after the draft, I was kind of like, what did I do? But it worked out. I made a couple trades that worked out. I made a couple trades at the end, because my pitching staff at the end was in deep shit.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was in trouble.
All right.
And I had to add some arms. I made a trade with Bill, and I wound up I had to give up Nola, but I ended up getting Greinke, and I got somebody else. I can't remember who the heck it was now.
Now I want to... Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I got Greinke and another arm, so, I mean, I replaced one arguably ace arm for Greinke. Didn't put up great numbers in the second half, but he put up productive numbers.
All right.
Chances at wins and Ks, and his whips were kind of a little all over the place at the end. And the other pitcher that I got from Bill was solid enough, too.
All right.
And I moved Trout. I wound up getting Harper in return, and I think I got an arm from Jason as well. So I knew I had to add some pitching towards the end, and that's kind of was my strategy. Obviously, some folks wanted me to give up Stanton towards the end because they wanted him, and Stanton, I was more willing to part with Trout than Stanton just because of the quality that I could get back.
Right.
You know, with Trout, I think Trout was worth more, so I wound up, offloading Trout and made some good value out of him.
Oh, there you go. Now, I want to point out something really quick, okay? One of the biggest controversies throughout this season that we had, it was a change that I feel like I benefited from, and I want to make, obviously, the whole league aware of this, that you and I led the league in moves made this year. Both you and I made over 100. Jason was the next closest one with 97, and he ended up in the top 4. If you are the commissioner next year, do you think that this is going to be something that you're going to factor in to keeping?
I am all for unlimited moves on the hitting side. 100% on board with that. I actually threw it out there weeks and weeks and weeks ago that we might consider a pitching move, limit move, on pitchers only. Unlimited on the batting side, limited on the pitching side. And I threw a number out there of 30. And the reason that I went 30 was simply because we used to have 60 moves for an entire roster for an entire season.
All right.
So I figured if we're only going to limit pitchers, maybe we limit pitchers to 30. My thought process behind doing that, a lot of people have issue with streaming, as you know. You moved probably more pitchers in and out of your roster than anybody else did. I know I probably moved a lot too because it was fair game, and I didn't draft great pitching. So I had to move some pitchers in and out for a lot of different reasons. Add starts when you need to add starts. You got to do what you got to do to win. And I gave you crap for it during the season, but I knew what you were doing and I knew why you were doing it, and it works. Going forward, I don't know if everybody wants to play that game and keep the 10-day rule, or if everybody would prefer to go to a pitching limit, a moves limit on the pitching side.
All right,
it got a lot of traction when I mentioned it. A lot of people seem to be, receptive of the idea that we might do 30 move limit on pitchers only.
All right.
Walker seems to think that he can make it fairly easy to keep track of, and I know Walker did mention the expanding of rosters after playoffs. He said Yahoo doesn't support the roster expansion. I don't know how we would do that.
All right.
Doesn't mean we can't continue to make moves, though. I am for that. You and Jason, I know I've talked about it publicly, and I'm for it also. When you get into the playoffs, starting on a Monday of the week, I think I'm okay with each team getting 2 moves for that week. And we could even go in to say, if everybody was down with it and wanted to do it, those 2 moves can be batter or pitcher. Doesn't matter. Those 2 moves at the start of the playoff week, the first playoff week, those two moves can be pitchers or hitters.
Sounds...
And not count towards your 30 total.
Right.
So your 30 total only gets you to the season close to start the playoffs. From that point forward, everybody that's in the playoffs
gets
still gets
6.
2 moves a week.
So 6, essentially.
Essentially 6 through the playoffs, but you can't use all 6 in 1 week.
No, I got you. It's man, it's a lot of food for thought, and we've fortunately have the ability to do it. So it will be interesting down the stretch, and once I post this, it'll definitely get some feedback, I'm sure. So have you given? What's that?
I said that rule, the 30 move limit on pitchers, I think that it might come off as a poo-poo on Casey's streaming, you know. And I don't want to seem like we're changing a rule. Hang on one second. I'll fix it when I'm done. Okay. I don't want to seem like we're changing a rule to stymie your strategy alone. But what I think we didn't do, which Walker put in place a rule of a 10-day rule, that was our best chance at kind of stopping the streaming of the pitchers. Well, you played within the rules, and you beat the system, you know, in a lot of ways.
Almost.
Yeah, well, you beat the system all the way to the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, arguably, had you not done that strategy, if you had rode the pitching staff that you drafted, do you think you would have made it as far as you did?
Hell to the no.
Me neither. I'm going to be dead honest with you. Me neither. So I played that strategy too. I mean, I used the 10-day rule just as much as you did. Maybe not as much, but I used it.
Right.
You know, because it's there. So if we're going to exploit, you know, the rules, it's not a gray area. It wasn't a gray area. It was within the rules to do what you did, and it was within the rules to do what I did, and what everybody else probably did at some point in the season or another. So if we really want to stop streaming in and out, adding starts, moving pitchers around weekly, a moves limit of 30 would do that.
All right.
You got, 25 weeks, right? 25 weeks in the regular season, 24, 25 weeks?
In the regular season, 22.
Okay, so 22, if you do 30 moves, it doesn't, I mean, you're doing 1 a week.
Right.
You know, maybe 2 some weeks, or maybe you take 1 week and you blow 3, 4, 5 of your moves away because you can still do it. You can still stream. If you get into the middle of a week and you're like, holy crap, I'm in trouble. I really need this, this, and this. You can go use up 10 of your moves if you want to, but it's only going to leave you 20 for the rest of the season for your pitching.
Right.
And it would not be inclusive of trades. Trades amongst pitchers, do what you want, and there's no 10-day rule attached to that moves limit.
All right.
So it's 30 moves straight up.
I like
keep a pitcher for 1 start, you keep a pitcher for 5 starts. It's completely up to you.
All right.
Everybody around the league would need to agree on it, because while it doesn't stop streaming, streaming is a part of fantasy baseball.
Right.
Outside of our league, inside of our league, it is commonly known in fantasy baseball as a strategy. If you go look at pitchers that are on the waivers, they will tell you in their updates, might be a good candidate for streaming this week.
Yes, sir.
Well, that tells you that other people are doing it.
Right.
You know? So we can limit it, but can we completely stop it? No, I think the 10-day rule proved that we couldn't stop it.
Right.
So,
well, before we get clocked up against the thing here, I could bullshit and talk baseball with you all day, man. You got good feedback. So you got a little bit to think about during the off season, man. Not to mention some names. Do not let me forget about completing my bet. I do have to wear a Florida State Seminole shirt on that last weekend of the season. Oh, God, I hate myself. But I've already decided if we win what I'm going to do with that shirt. I'll give you a hint. It's very Colin Kaepernick-esque. So, go Gators that week. Give me your prediction real quick about this coming down the stretch, man. We got, 4 teams left? 8? Is it 8 teams? 4 teams? 8 teams.
Yeah.
I can tell you I'm wearing my Chipper Jones shirt just to try to inspire my team to at least get a fucking run. But I don't think it's going to happen against Walker Buehler. But give me your predictions. Go.
I think the Braves are probably going to make a fast exit.
Yeah.
I think their pitching staff's been exposed.
Yeah.
Bad. Everybody knew it. You called it a long time ago.
Yep.
The Rockies. Yeah. I mean, what do you even say?
Yeah.
The Yankees, if they can play baseball the way they played last night, they can put the Red Sox out of this thing, and that's what I'm pulling for.
Yeah.
I like the Astros. So I got Astros, Yankees. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know where the whole thing goes, but I mean, I'd like to see the Yankees go to it.
All right.
And who you got?
I'm gonna agree with you, man. I think the Boston's pitching staff is beat up. I think the Astros, man, they have a good pitching staff. I think that Yankees Astros is going to be a good matchup. But I'm gonna say the Yankees. And I'm gonna throw this one out there. I think Milwaukee could do it, man. I think they've got a great batting lineup. And they've got some leadership on there. And I know everybody's saying, no, it's going to be the Dodgers and the Yankees. That would be a powerhouse postseason. But I want the Brewers to get there, man. I want to see them get there.
Yeah, as much as I dislike the Brewers, I dislike the Dodgers more.
Right.
And I think, and it's just my opinion, I think the Brewers can win that.
Yeah.
And I would like to see the Brewers go. And then either, I think like you said, it's going to be the Astros or the Yankees. That's just going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah, man.
If it comes to that, that's going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah.
But I would like to see the Brewers and the Yankees.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good matchup, man. So, I don't know how
I
much.
just want to see Boston go home.
Yeah, right? Yeah. See you later, Boston. I don't know how much more time I got left on this thing. I usually only get about 30 minutes, man. But again, congratulations, dude. I'm very happy for you. It is my second season being second, so I got to try to get that first place, man. I tasted it twice, but I just have not swallowed it.
Well, thank you, man. It was a hell of a season. And
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it, and I had a great time, and I'm definitely coming back next year to do it all over again.
All right, man. Well, again, guys, this is Shane, and I'm going to be leaving not like I normally would, but you have to exit with some tripping billies. Right there. Oh, man, Shane. Hell of a season, man. 25 weeks in the books. Actually, technically now 26. But, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the ass whooping.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
All right, let's get some chat going on this some of these rule changes stuff.
All right, man. Will do.
All right, man.
All right, man.
You got it.
Later.